Good morning, YouTube. It is 10 a.m. in the great state of Texas, and currently it is 75 degrees in the workshop, and I think I did this at midnight. But early on in the video, you saw me throwing that epoxy into the trash, and judging by the title of this video, you guys know that this is just not going to end well for me. So I was trying to do another, just like a typical epoxy bowl project that I usually do, and I'm using really old resin. It's not even really old. So I did this project. Sorry for my voice, by the way. I'm still getting over being sick, but you can see here I'm in shorts and a shirt. It was very nice in the workshop. It was approximately a month ago, so we're gonna have some issues with the epoxy, obviously. And I mix everything up the same way that I always do. I'm using East Coast resin. It's a 1-to-1 epoxy. Usually there's no issues whatsoever, but obviously there is going to be so much chip out that I'm not going to be able to complete a project this week. And everything goes well. The mixing went well. I'm mixing up different colors. This was actually supposed to be a Halloween themed bowl, but it was still warm in Texas and things were going well. So I'm like, okay, just get something done. And this was just another project that I just hadn't gotten to. And then fast forward about 2 months, and it's November, and it's kind of chilly. It's like 40 degrees in the workshop. So the resin had time to sit in the workshop, and my guess is that the temperature completely destroyed my resin. So I got smart because obviously, as you guys saw 2 weeks ago, I had issues with the pine, the waste block jumping off of the lathe, and the hot glue wasn't staying on the epoxy because I imagine because it was cold, it was brittle, so it had a little bit of issues. So I went ahead and added resin and added the waste block. So I'm thinking, okay, we have fixed that problem. Now granted, yes, I know that this is a little uneven, it's a little unbalanced. That does contribute a little bit. But I changed my carbide tools. The heads on those are very sharp, and initially I'm thinking I'm doing pretty good. So I'm, making my passes. I'm getting pretty good, shavings, everything's going smooth. I know just to take your time, don't be too aggressive. The shavings and the ribbons look really good. So a little bit later into the video, I start experiencing a little bit of chatter, and I'm not understanding kind of what the issue is. I'm like, okay, I'm not being aggressive, but obviously there's an issue. And I've run into this in the past. 6 years of doing this now, I know, okay, something's coming my way, and bam, there it happens. Giant chip out. I'm like, okay, was this just a fluke? Was it just an issue with my technique? What is going on here? So I'm like, okay, let's work through the problem. So put on my gloves. Obviously, we got some new gloves. About time. And then I start, working the problem, taking small little strokes, just thinking, okay, we can fix this. This isn't going to be an issue. Just take your time. And then I just noticed more chatter. So I'm just like, something is wrong with this epoxy. And in spite of all of my effort and everything, I did and more chip out. So I'm just like, okay, this obviously is an issue. So then I go ahead and say, okay, maybe it was just that piece. This was supposed to be the lid, and I do the same thing. I start making shallow strokes. I'm not aggressive, and I'm getting pretty good shavings off. And I'm like, okay, there's a little bit of chatter there, but as the project goes on, I'm like, okay, maybe it was just that one piece. I'm like, okay, take your losses, just do what you do, and everything's going relatively smooth. And then I'm like, okay, cool, this might actually work. I might actually have something to show. So then I start to make the mortise, and that's when it happens. I'm like, okay, the epoxy is messed up. So it's either the temperature or it's the way I mixed it. I'm thinking it's the temperature, because usually when I have this issue, it's a temperature issue, or I didn't mix the epoxy well enough. Either way, the project is screwed. We're not going to be able to use this. So this is what it looked like, just more chip out. And I had small little shards of glass come off, and just a complete waste. So I don't know if I'm going to just do wood projects, but this is what it looks like. It's just like glass on the floor. But if you guys know what's going on, leave a comment. But sorry for the project, just didn't work out this week. See you in the next one.
Alright, so project is not done, but project has ended. So
It is about 40-ish. Hold on a second. Way off. It's 54 degrees right now. I think the temperature is the issue with this epoxy. I think it didn't mix well, and the temperature, it's cold. It dips to like 40 degrees, and like it's 50 degrees now. And I've experienced this before, and as far as I can remember, winter time is usually when I have this issue. And I think it's just the epoxy being shocked by the temperature changes. It's not the chisels. I changed the carbide tools, the heads. It can't be that. So I don't know if I'm going to continue to do epoxy through the winter and see how we do in the summer, because it's just off that all of a sudden we have this issue. So probably going to maybe try again and just see what happens. But yeah, this is 2 projects in a row with epoxy, and the only difference is the weather changes. Maybe I didn't mix it well. I don't know. It could be a number of things, but we're gonna see what happens, and then I guess go from there. If epoxy is no longer my thing, I guess I'll just do wood projects forever. But weird that this is just happening so often now, but I think it's the weather. If anybody has any clue about what's going on, I'm pretty sure it's the weather and the temperature changes with the epoxy is why it's doing this. But anyway, thanks for watching. Sorry there's no completed video this week, but I show disaster on my channel, and I'm an amateur, and this is what happens sometimes. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. All right, peace.